Have you ever felt like your emotions are controlling you rather than the other way around? It might seem like a small thing, but the truth is, if you don't learn to control your emotions, they will control you. And when that happens, it can cost you your peace, your relationships, and your personal growth. Now here's a hard truth most people avoid. The way many women think and feel is often influenced by hidden emotional weaknesses that shape their relationships and self-perception. These weaknesses, while often invisible, can hold them back from living authentically and confidently. If you've ever been in a relationship where you felt overwhelmed by emotional dynamics, or if you've struggled to connect with someone, on a deeper level, you're not alone. Many men, just like you, find themselves dealing with emotional reactivity, fear of rejection, and the overwhelming need for affirmation. These challenges aren't just one-sided, they can affect everyone involved. But here's the good news. You can break free from these patterns. In this video, I'm going to reveal 10 hidden weaknesses in the female mind and how you can use Stoic philosophy to not only understand these weaknesses, but also navigate them with emotional control and strength. These insights will give you the tools to build stronger relationships and gain better emotional mastery. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, I'll share a simple but powerful Stoic technique that can transform how you handle emotional challenges in your relationships, making you more resilient and calm than ever before. Let's dive in. Weakness number 1. Emotional dependence. Women often find themselves caught in a constant need for emotional validation. This is a deeply ingrained psychological tendency, one that shapes much of their interactions with others, especially in relationships. The need to feel appreciated, understood, and accepted is not just about comfort. It can become a central aspect of their identity. Women, much like all humans, desire connection and affection, but when this need becomes a driving force, it can turn into a weakness. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself seeking approval from someone you care about? It's a universal trait, but for many women, it's an emotional dependency that can feel suffocating and overwhelming. This emotional dependency often leads to an unhealthy dynamic in relationships. Women may place their worth in the hands of others, whether it's their partner, friends, or even society's standards. And here's the issue. When their emotional well-being is tied to someone else's actions or words, it can result in a fragile sense of self. This is where Stoicism comes into play, providing a solution by promoting emotional independence. Stoic philosophy teaches that true strength comes from within, from the ability to regulate your emotions and not let them be swayed by external factors. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, put it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. For men, the challenge is clear. How can you deal with a partner who seeks constant emotional validation? The Stoic approach is to lead by example, demonstrate emotional stability, and do not rely on external validation yourself. Show that true strength comes from self-sufficiency and inner peace. When you lead with this example, it can help your partner see that their emotional state does not need to depend on external forces. Instead, they can learn to build their own inner resilience. This doesn't mean you should ignore their feelings, but rather encourage them to recognize that their worth is not defined by the opinions of others. As you begin to adopt Stoic principles, you might start noticing a shift in how you respond to emotional demands. Ask yourself, when was the last time you allowed someone's emotional state to dictate your own? This is a moment of self-reflection, a chance to evaluate how you can apply Stoicism to break free from emotional dependency. And now, this leads us perfectly into the next hidden weakness many women face: fear of vulnerability. Weakness number 2, fear of vulnerability. At first glance, the idea of vulnerability may seem like a weakness, but in reality, it's a crucial component of building genuine emotional intimacy. For many women, however, vulnerability is a paradox. They crave emotional closeness and connection, yet they fear exposing their true selves, afraid of being judged or hurt. The desire for intimacy often battles with the fear of being vulnerable, and this fear can create walls, both physical and emotional, that limit their relationships. This dynamic is often subtle but powerful. Women may appear open or emotionally available, but deep down, they might be reluctant to show their true feelings, especially when it involves deep emotional exposure. This fear stems from the very human desire to protect oneself from potential harm. rejection, or disappointment. They might fear that revealing too much will make them seem weak, or that their partners might not understand or accept them. But, as with all fears, the power lies in how we manage and face them. Stoicism offers a profound perspective on this. It teaches that strength is not found in hiding our vulnerabilities, but in controlling our responses to them. Stoic philosophers, like Epictetus, emphasize the importance of accepting what we cannot control and focusing on what we can, the way we react to life's challenges. Vulnerability, when approached with Stoic wisdom, becomes an expression of strength, not weakness. Instead of fearing exposure, Stoicism teaches us to embrace it with courage, knowing that true connection can only happen when we let go of the walls we've built. So how can men apply Stoic principles when dealing with this fear of vulnerability in a partner? First, lead by example. Practice emotional openness in a calm, grounded manner. Don't be afraid to show vulnerability, but do so with strength. Acknowledge your feelings without letting them control you. This will create a safe space for your partner to begin to let down her guard. Encourage her to do so by providing reassurance through your actions, showing that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but rather an opportunity to connect on a deeper level. If you've ever been in a relationship where you felt emotionally distant from your partner, ask yourself, did I contribute to the walls between us by not expressing my own vulnerabilities? How can you create a space where vulnerability is seen as a tool for building trust, not a risk? These are the questions that lead us to the next challenge women often face: insecurity about appearance. Weakness. Number 3, insecurity about appearance. Appearance, while often deemed superficial, plays a significant role in how women perceive themselves and their value in the world. Society, media, and even personal experiences place immense pressure on women to conform to idealized beauty standards. This pressure fosters insecurities about their physical appearance, leading many women to feel that they must constantly meet these expectations to be seen as worthy, attractive, or valued. It can affect their confidence, their self-esteem, and ultimately, their relationships. For example, have you ever noticed how someone might withdraw from social situations because they feel they aren't looking their best? This insecurity can create an emotional distance, not just with others, but with themselves. Women often feel as though their worth is tied to their appearance. If they don't look a certain way, they may not feel lovable or capable of attracting the kind of attention they desire. This tendency to tie self-worth to physical appearance is a weakness that can cause unnecessary stress and anxiety. Stoicism offers a solution to this insecurity, focusing on internal qualities and virtues rather than external validation. The Stoic philosophy teaches that true strength lies not in how we are perceived by others, but in how we perceive ourselves, grounded in our values, actions, and character. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This is a powerful reminder that while appearance may influence how others perceive us, it should not dictate our internal sense of worth. For men, understanding this insecurity is key to creating a supportive and emotionally stable environment for women. Instead of reinforcing societal standards, offer encouragement that aligns with Stoic teachings. Value her for her inner strength, her character, and her wisdom. When you focus on these deeper qualities, you not only provide the emotional support she needs to overcome her insecurity, but you also help her reframe her sense of self-worth. As she learns to internalize Stoic principles, she will begin to see herself not just as how she looks, but for the value she brings through her actions, thoughts, and the way she treats others. Ask yourself, how often do you place too much emphasis on the external, rather than focusing on the inner qualities of those around you? Can you shift your perspective to see the true worth in others, beyond appearance? These reflections are vital as we transition to another common weakness: emotional reactivity. Weakness number 4, emotional reactivity. Emotional reactivity is one of the most prominent challenges women face in relationships. It is an instinctive reaction to external events or stimuli, often triggered by emotions such as frustration, anger, or disappointment. While it's natural for all humans to experience intense emotions, emotional reactivity can lead to impulsive actions or words that damage relationships and create unnecessary tension. Women, in particular, may find themselves emotionally reactive when faced with conflict or misunderstanding. The reaction is often automatic, a reflex to emotional stimuli that overrides logic and calm reasoning. You've likely witnessed this dynamic, perhaps during a disagreement, where emotions take over and conversations spiral into arguments, each side reacting impulsively. In these moments, the ability to pause and assess the situation is lost, and instead emotions dictate behavior. This emotional reactivity can be especially damaging when both partners fail to recognize the importance of emotional control. Here's where Stoicism offers a profound insight. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that while we cannot control the external events that provoke emotional responses, we do have complete control over how we react. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When we practice this, we begin to detach ourselves from the immediate pull of emotions, taking a step back before responding. This practice of emotional regulation creates a sense of inner calm and prevents us from reacting impulsively, which in turn leads to more thoughtful and productive interactions. For men, the challenge is to stay grounded when faced with a partner's emotional reactivity. This does not mean dismissing her feelings, but rather offering stability in the moment. By remaining calm and composed, you not only avoid escalating the situation, but also serve as an example of how emotional control can foster healthier, more respectful communication. This kind of approach can help create a safe space for both partners to express themselves without fear of emotional overreaction. Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you found yourself reacting impulsively to a situation? How would a Stoic response, pausing, reflecting, and then reacting with composure, change the outcome? This practice of emotional control will guide us directly into the next hidden weakness many women face: desire for control. Weakness number 5. Desire for control. The desire for control is a psychological trait that many women struggle with, and it can significantly impact their relationships. At its core, this need for control stems from a desire for safety, certainty, and predictability. Women, like all humans, want to feel secure in their environment, and one way to achieve this is through control, whether it's over their surroundings, their relationships, or even the behavior of others. However, when this desire for control becomes excessive, it can lead to manipulation, power struggles, and emotional strain. Think about a situation where someone constantly tries to dictate every aspect of their relationship or the actions of their partner. It can create an imbalance where one person feels stifled and the other feels a constant need to assert control. This dynamic is unhealthy, as it prevents both partners from experiencing true emotional freedom and mutual respect. In relationships, this can lead to resentment and dissatisfaction, especially when one partner feels like they are being controlled or manipulated. Stoicism provides a powerful remedy for this. The philosophy encourages individuals to focus on what is within their control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, and to accept the things we cannot control. This understanding of control is vital in relationships. It allows men to maintain their emotional independence, regardless of external pressures or attempts to control them. By embodying Stoic principles, men can navigate these power struggles without losing their inner peace. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, wisely stated, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." By detaching ourselves from the need to control everything, we free ourselves from unnecessary emotional turmoil. For men, dealing with a partner who has a strong need for control can be challenging, but it's not impossible. The key is to remain steady and clear in your own boundaries while avoiding confrontation. Rather than engaging in power struggles, practice setting clear expectations and demonstrating emotional resilience. Encourage open communication and mutual respect, where both partners feel heard and valued without the need for dominance. Reflect on this. Have you ever allowed someone's desire for control to affect your peace of mind? How can you apply Stoic teachings to maintain balance and avoid power struggles? Understanding this dynamic is essential as we move toward addressing another common weakness: fear of rejection. Weakness number 6. Fear of rejection. Fear of rejection is one of the most powerful emotional drivers in human behavior, and it's something many women experience in varying degrees. This fear can manifest in many ways, often influencing how women approach relationships, their sense of self-worth, and their interactions with others. When rejection is feared, it can cause anxiety, insecurity, and even prevent them from fully opening up or taking risks in their personal lives. Women may find themselves avoiding situations where they might be rejected, or they may overcompensate by trying to please others or seek constant validation. Have you ever noticed how someone might shy away from expressing their true feelings or pursuing something they want because they fear rejection? This fear can lead to missed opportunities and emotional barriers that prevent people from truly connecting with others. For women, the fear of rejection is not just about romantic relationships, but extends to all areas of life: career, friendships, and even family dynamics. It's the fear of not being good enough or not being accepted for who they are. This is where Stoicism offers a refreshing approach. Stoic philosophy teaches detachment from external validation. It emphasizes that our worth is not dependent on the approval of others, and the key to emotional resilience is accepting that rejection is a part of life, not a reflection of our value. Epictetus taught, it's not the events themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about those events. In other words, how we interpret rejection, and more importantly, how we respond to it, determines whether it becomes a source of growth or a source of pain. For men, understanding this fear of rejection can lead to more compassionate and supportive relationships. Instead of reinforcing the fear, encourage your partner to embrace rejection as a natural part of life. Show her that rejection doesn't define her worth, and that it's simply an opportunity for growth. By remaining calm and unaffected by rejection yourself, you demonstrate emotional resilience and provide a model for how to deal with the discomfort of rejection in a healthy way. Take a moment to think, when have you let the fear of rejection stop you from pursuing something important? How would a Stoic approach, embracing rejection as a learning experience, change how you handle these situations? This mindset leads us directly to the next hidden weakness women face: emotional manipulation. Weakness 7. Emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is a tactic used by some women in relationships, whether consciously or unconsciously, to control or influence others through their emotions. This behavior is often rooted in insecurity and a desire to feel in control of a situation or relationship. Women who engage in emotional manipulation may use guilt, sympathy, or fear to get what they want, often without realizing the long-term damage it can cause to the relationship. The emotional game can create confusion and strain, leaving the other person feeling manipulated, helpless, or even guilty for not meeting their emotional needs. Have you ever encountered someone who constantly shifts the emotional dynamics in a way that makes you feel responsible for their happiness or well-being? Emotional manipulation often thrives on this type of guilt-inducing behavior, where the manipulator subtly, or not so subtly, uses their emotions to control the situation. It's a form of emotional leverage that makes the other person feel as though they are failing to meet the emotional expectations set for them. This can lead to emotional burnout and resentment, as it places an unfair burden on one partner to always be the fixer or the emotional caretaker. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to this type of manipulation: emotional mastery. The Stoics teach that we cannot control the emotions or actions of others, only our own. This means that when faced with emotional manipulation, men can choose to remain calm, grounded, and clear-headed, refusing to be swept away by the emotional currents of someone else's drama. Stoic principles encourage individuals to recognize when they are being emotionally manipulated and to assert their boundaries with confidence and clarity. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality," reminding us that much of the emotional turmoil we experience is self-inflicted by our perceptions of the situation rather than the situation itself. For men, the key is to stay emotionally detached in these situations without becoming cold or distant. It's about maintaining emotional intelligence and being able to see manipulation for what it is, a strategy to control behavior. By staying grounded and assertive, you can stop the cycle of manipulation in its tracks, creating an environment of respect and mutual understanding. This approach doesn't mean ignoring the other person's feelings, but recognizing that they are not responsible for your emotions, just as you are not responsible for theirs. Reflect for a moment. Have you ever felt emotionally drained by someone else's neediness or manipulation? How would it feel to respond with clarity and composure instead of being swept up in the emotional dynamics? By mastering your emotional response, you can begin to navigate relationships with greater confidence, and this brings us to the next hidden weakness women often face: the need for constant affirmation. Weakness the frigate, the need for constant affirmation. For many women, the need for constant affirmation can become an unspoken yet powerful driving force in their relationships. This need stems from a desire for validation, reassurance, and the sense of being seen and appreciated. While seeking affirmation is natural for everyone, when this need becomes excessive, it can create a cycle of emotional dependency, where a woman's sense of worth is tied to how others perceive her. She may constantly seek compliments, praise, and validation, not just from a partner but from others in her life as well. Imagine being in a relationship where one partner is constantly seeking reassurance, always asking, "Do you love me? Am I doing okay?" This behavior, while understandable in moderation, can strain the relationship, as it places the responsibility of emotional validation solely on the other person. It can also lead to feelings of inadequacy or frustration in the partner, who may feel overwhelmed by the continuous demand for affirmation. Stoicism offers a solution to this emotional pattern by encouraging self-validation. Stoic philosophy teaches that true strength comes from within and that we should not rely on external approval to define our self-worth. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the foundation of Stoic thinking, that the value of a person is not dependent on how others perceive them, but rather on their character, virtues, and actions. By focusing on internal sources of validation, a person can begin to break free from the cycle of seeking constant external affirmation. For men, the key to dealing with this behavior is to encourage your partner to recognize her intrinsic value, separate from external praise. When she begins to internalize her worth, the need for constant affirmation will diminish. Lead by example, showing that you don't seek validation from others either, and instead find satisfaction in your own growth and inner peace. By doing so, you can help foster a relationship built on mutual respect and self-sufficiency. Reflect for a moment. How often do you seek external validation to feel good about yourself? What would it feel like to rely on your own sense of self-worth, rather than seeking approval from others? By shifting the focus inward, you can break free from the need for constant affirmation, paving the way for a stronger, more resilient sense of self. This leads us to the next hidden weakness that many women experience: overemphasis on romance and fantasy. Weakness number 9. Overemphasis on romance and fantasy. For many women, the idea of romance is often tied to grand, idealized fantasies shaped by books, movies, and societal expectations. While these fantasies can be a source of excitement and inspiration, they can also create unrealistic expectations in relationships. Women may begin to measure their relationships against these idealized portrayals of love, which can lead to dissatisfaction, frustration, and disappointment when reality doesn't match the fantasy. You've probably seen it before. A woman might idealize a partner or a relationship, expecting constant passion, grand gestures, and effortless harmony. When reality falls short, it can lead to feelings of disillusionment or emotional distress. The overemphasis on romance can cloud the true nature of love, which in its most authentic form is built on mutual respect, communication, and shared growth, not perfection. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to this fantasy-driven mindset. The Stoic perspective encourages us to embrace reality as it is, rather than how we wish it to be. By focusing on the present moment and accepting that life is not always perfect, we can free ourselves from the chains of romantic idealism. Seneca, one of the foremost Stoic philosophers, wisely said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This reminder helps us focus on what truly matters in relationships: genuine connection, emotional depth, and mutual understanding, not fleeting fantasy-driven moments. For men, the challenge is to help your partner move away from these romanticized expectations and understand that true love is grounded in the reality of everyday life. Encourage open communication about what both of you need and desire in the relationship, rather than falling into the trap of trying to fulfill unrealistic fantasies. By fostering a relationship built on honesty and practicality, you will not only create a more stable foundation, but also strengthen your emotional bond. Take a moment to reflect. How often do you measure your relationships against unrealistic expectations? How would embracing the reality of your relationship, without the fantasy, change how you approach love and connection? This shift in perspective will help us transition to the next weakness: fear of losing identity in a relationship. Weakness number 10. Fear of losing identity in a relationship. One of the most common yet deeply internalized fears many women face is the fear of losing their identity in a relationship. While love and commitment are central to building a life together, it's all too easy for one partner to begin sacrificing their sense of self in the process. Women, especially, may fear that in becoming deeply connected with a partner, they will lose the very essence of who they are, becoming consumed by the relationship and losing their independence, passions, and personal goals. Have you ever noticed how someone might start changing their behavior, likes, or even their social circles once they enter a relationship? It's as if they're molding themselves to fit what they think the other person wants, slowly forgetting their own desires and ambitions in the process. While relationships require compromise and adjustment, losing yourself entirely in someone else's world is a recipe for emotional imbalance. This is where Stoicism can offer a guiding light. The Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of maintaining one's own integrity and sense of self, regardless of external circumstances. Marcus Aurelius taught to love only what happens, what was destined, no greater harmony. By focusing on what is within our control, our actions, thoughts, and responses, we can ensure that even within a relationship, we maintain a strong sense of individuality. In a Stoic relationship, both partners continue to grow as individuals, bringing their unique strengths and qualities to the partnership without sacrificing their essence. For men, it's important to encourage your partner to preserve her identity. While still nurturing the relationship, recognize her individuality and support her personal growth separate from the relationship. This not only strengthens the bond you share, but also allows both of you to thrive individually, which ultimately benefits the relationship as a whole. By respecting each other's autonomy and supporting each other's goals, you create a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Pause and reflect for a moment. Have you ever found yourself losing parts of your identity in a relationship? How can you begin to foster an environment where both partners can grow individually and together? Recognizing this dynamic is crucial for building a healthy, balanced relationship, and it leads us to one of the most important aspects of any relationship: self-mastery and emotional control. Throughout this video, we've explored the hidden emotional weaknesses that women often face, from emotional dependence to the fear of losing their identity in a relationship. We've discussed how Stoic principles like emotional control, self-mastery, and detachment from external validation can help you understand and navigate these dynamics more effectively. Remember, true strength in any relationship comes from emotional resilience. It's not about suppressing emotions, but mastering them. Stoicism teaches us that when we focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our responses, our actions, we gain freedom and clarity. Now take a moment and ask yourself, how often do I let external factors, like emotional reactivity or the need for constant affirmation, dictate my relationships? What would it look like if I approached every challenge with calmness, self-assurance, and a Stoic mindset? These are the questions that can lead to profound personal growth and stronger, healthier connections. If this message resonated with you, I encourage you to take action. Comment below with "I choose emotional control" and share this video with someone who might benefit from these insights. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that can help you unlock your potential and master your emotions.